This is the Teacher Toolkit for EDU 442 by Christina Webb. The purpose of the Teacher Toolkit is to gather a variety of reading materials, assessment tools, and instructional strategies that can be used in an intermediate level classroom to facilitate students' reading development. Let's first look at assessment tools. Some tools that we can use for assessments are Fluency Pros, Phonological Awareness Assessment, and Concept Maps. So how can we use these tools? A Fluency Probe. It is a very good thing when a reading teacher knows the strengths, needs, and reading levels of every student. The procedures. Have the students read orally for a minute from curriculum materials at grade level. Ask students to read in their normal manners, not overly fast or slow. Administrate reading probes at least 3 times a year. Scoring. Count the number of words correctly in the minute period. Include errors corrected in the minute period. You're looking for the WCPM, words correct per minute. Analyze and interpret. Students reading significantly below starting norms, 20% or below norms, are at risk in reading, decoding, or in fluency and should be considered for further assessment and diagnostic. The teacher can decide what guiding reading group the student needs to be in, and it can help the teacher decide if the student is improving or need extra help. The next one is Phonological Awareness Assessment. The test is used in kindergarten through 4th grade. The test assesses students' understanding of syllables and phonemic as a meaning of decoding words. Phonemic awareness is tested through a subtest of rhyming, manipulating of root words, substitution of phonemics, blending words, coding words, and spelling. The test is administered by a reading specialist and includes a demonstration of tasks and manipulations of cubes of substitution components. The teacher can find out what level the student's at and what they're struggling with. The next one is concept maps. Concept maps are visual representations of linkage and connections between a major component and other knowledge students have learned. Concept maps are excellent tools to provide instruction with diagnostic pre-assessment prior to beginning a unit and a formal assessment during learning activities. Concept maps are also provide immediate visual data to geoscience instructors on students' misconceptions and their level of understanding. Among these are the ability to draw reasonable inferences from observations, the ability to synthesize and integrate information and ideas, the ability to learn concepts and theories in a subject area. The next thing we're going to look at is mentor text. If we're going to use different strategies, then we need to have good mentor text to reinforce these strategies. 3 mentor texts that I have found are Painted Words, Fly Away Home, and Lily's Purple Plastic Purse. What strategies can we use for these texts? Painted Words is grade level 3.5 and guided reading level N. The teacher can use visualizing as a strategy when using this mentor text. The teacher has the students think about a creation in their mind of sensory images, pictures, smells, tastes, sounds, and feelings. Then the cinema unfolds in their minds. The books have a good idea that the teachers can use to teach this strategy. The next book is Fly Away Home. The reading level for this book is 4.3 and the guided reading is P. Teachers can use this strategy of inferencing with the students. The teachers can start with having the students make an inference by looking at the title and the front cover. The book has a good opportunity for students to stop and think about inferences and make one. The last book is Lily's Purple Plastic Purse. This is a grade level of 3.5 and a guided reading of level N. The teacher can use this book to teach the strategy for making connections with the main character in the book. The teacher can have the students stop at different spots in the book and make a connection. The students have a chart where they can write the passage from the book that they've made a connection with, and they can write their connection on the other side of the chart. The next thing we're going to look at is reading strategies. Reading strategies are also important for students to know how to use when they are reading a text. I have found 3 different strategies that teachers can use for varieties of text. How can we use these strategies? The first one is called Quick Write. This strategy can be used when a teacher wants a review game or if they have some extra time. The class is divided into 2 teams, and one person from one team draws a picture from the book that they have recently read, and a player from the other team has to guess what they have drawn from the book. The teacher would make sure that every student has a whiteboard and a marker to make the game move more smoothly. The next one is called a picture talk. This is a strategy that the teacher can use before the class starts a new book. The teacher will select a word from the book that the students may not know and that are important to the story. The teacher will create a PowerPoint with the words and images that relate to the word. Students will have to infer what this word means, and the students will create a paragraph using these words. The last strategy is give one, get one. This is an activating brainstorming strategy that makes students use their pile of knowledge from all different subject areas. The students are given a topic that relates to the book that they're going to be reading. The students are to brainstorm the topic independently. For example, students can be read about animals, so the teacher will have the students brainstorm about a mammal. Once the students have created their own list, the students will each share a word or an idea from their list. Every student will share a word, but the word cannot be repeated. Once a student is out of words, then they're out of the game, and the student with the last word wins. The last thing we're going to look at is a guided reading lesson plan from Pink and Say using figurative language. The teacher would start the mini lesson by reading an excerpt from Pink and Say. The teacher introduces the definition of figurative language to the students through the use of an anchor chart. The teacher shows the students 3 different examples of figurative language in Pink and Say. The teacher will work with students to determine the meaning of each phrase using figurative language from this book. The teacher will ask the students to write a short narrative in which they will describe an ordinary activity such as lining up at the front door for lunch using figurative language. The assessment. Teachers will use anecdotal notes as students read. They will be using a clipboard with the names of the students and spaces for teachers to take notes of each student. The teacher would have a series of questions for students to answer to check for understanding. The teacher will be able to assess the understanding by listening to the students in the guided reading group as they identify the meaning of phrases using figurative language in Pink and Say. The teacher will ask the students to write a short narrative in which they would describe an ordinary activity such as lining up at the door and using figurative language. Pink and Say is a level text with guided reading level V. This was a teacher's toolkit for EDU 442